In 1979, Mad Max transformed empty highways into a savage prophecy and turned its cast into icons overnight. But by 2026, time didn't just pass, it cut deep. Behind the fame came divorce, illness, disappearance, and hard survival far from the spotlight. What really happened after the engine stopped and the cameras went dark? Join us as we uncover their real lives and honor the legacies they left behind. Mel Gibson as Max Rockatansky. Mel Gibson was born the 3rd of January 1956 in Peekskill, New York, United States. At 23 years old, he played Max Rockatansky, the haunted highway patrol officer in Mad Max. The character's silence, grief, and controlled violence anchored the film, turning a gritty Australian production into a global shockwave. That controlled exterior was shaped early. As a teenager, Gibson was uprooted when his family moved from the U.S. to Australia, forcing him to adapt fast and suppress instability in order to survive socially and academically. This internal pressure followed him into acting school at NIDA and later into demanding roles like Gallipoli and The Year of Living Dangerously. Success deepened the cracks instead of sealing them. Gibson married Robin Moore in 1980, building a large family of 7 children, while his career exploded through Lethal Weapon and later Braveheart, which won him Academy Awards. But constant absence, power imbalance, and fame slowly eroded that marriage, ending in a costly 2011 divorce that exposed long-contained tensions and stripped away the private life he had carefully protected. Once that structure collapsed, his personal struggles became public. A volatile relationship with Oksana Grigorieva, combined with alcoholism and emotional instability, erupted into legal battles, leaked recordings, and scandals that echoed the desperation seen in films like The Beaver. Hollywood distanced itself rapidly, and Gibson's career stalled for years. The fall felt complete. Today, Mel Gibson is 70 years old and still active, working mainly behind the camera after rebuilding trust through directing projects such as Hacksaw Ridge, which earned 6 Academy Award nominations. With an estimated net worth of around $425 million, his life reads as a cycle of rise, collapse, and survival, proof that even icons forged in chaos never truly escape it. Hugh Keays-Byrne as Toecutter. Hugh Keays-Byrne was born the 18th of May, 1947 in Srinagar, Kashmir, India, to British parents. At 32 years old, he played Toecutter, the sadistic biker gang leader in Mad Max. His raw unpredictability injected fear into every scene, giving the film an antagonist who felt genuinely unhinged. That instability reflected a life without permanence. Growing up between India and England due to his father's military postings, Keays-Byrne learned early that security was temporary and home was a moving target. When he turned to theater and later joined the Royal Shakespeare Company between 1968 and 1972, structure became survival. A 1973 RSC tour brought him to Australia with A Midsummer Night's Dream, and he chose to stay, eventually landing roles in films like Stone and The Man from Hong Kong. Fame never insulated him from strain. Married to partner Christina for 47 years, he lived quietly in Centennial Park, choosing artistic credibility over celebrity while navigating financial uncertainty common to character actors. Television and genre work, including a beloved role as Grunchulk in Farscape, kept him visible but always on the margins of mainstream recognition. He won a Logie Award for Rush, yet remained a character actor by choice. Age and illness later narrowed his world. Heart-related health problems followed him even as he returned powerfully as Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road, a role that reframed his earlier chaos into authoritarian menace. Director George Miller specifically brought him back partly out of guilt for dubbing over his voice in early international prints of the original Mad Max. The performance felt final, as if the franchise itself was closing a long open wound. Sadly, Hugh Keays-Byrne died peacefully on the 2nd of December, 2020 at 73 years old in Gosford Hospital, New South Wales, due to health complications. He was buried at Palmdale Lawn Cemetery on the 18th of December after a private memorial that celebrated his generous spirit. With an estimated net worth of about $5 million, he left behind not excess, but impact. Charlize Theron called him a kind, beautiful soul, proof that some legacies linger because they disturb, not because they shine. Steve Bisley as Jim Goose. Steve Bisley was born the 26th of December, 1951 in Lake Munmora, New South Wales. At 27, he played Jim Goose, the loyal highway patrol officer and Max's closest friend in Mad Max. Goose's brutal fate gave the film its emotional rupture, turning Max's job into a personal war. Bisley grew up on a small rural farm, where work came early and ambition had little room to breathe. Leaving home as a teenager to survive in Sydney, he carried that pressure into acting school. This tension later visible in raw performances like The Chain Reaction and The Big Steal. As his career stabilized, his private life became more fragile. He shared 4 children with longtime partner Shauna Forrest, but the relationship eventually collapsed. A later marriage to Sally Burley ended even more painfully, culminating in a highly publicized 2010 assault conviction that permanently altered how the public viewed him. Those years marked a turning point rather than an end. Bisley avoided self-destruction by leaning back into work, committing himself to long-running television roles like Water Rats and Dr. Doctor. Physical injuries from action work lingered, but it was reputational damage that proved harder to heal. Now, Steve Bisley is 74 years old and still active in acting and writing, choosing steady craft over celebrity. With an estimated net worth around $3 million, his story feels quietly tragic. A man who helped ignite a legend, paid deeply in his personal life, and kept going anyway, scarred but present. Joanne Samuel as Jessie Rockatansky. Joanne Samuel was born the 5th of August, 1957 in Camperdown, New South Wales. At 22, she played Jessie Rockatansky, Max's wife and the fragile center of his family life in Mad Max. Her warmth grounded the violence, making the film's later brutality feel personal rather than abstract. Samuel pursued dance and drama from a young age, despite resistance from a traditional family that feared instability in the arts. Breaking into television first, she learned discipline quickly, carrying that control into later projects like Allison's Birthday and Nightmaster, where vulnerability remained her strongest weapon. Marriage to director of photography Nick A. Hearn brought stability. Samuel built a quiet life, balancing career and motherhood with 3 children, including son Jessie, who became a producer and director. Her work included Hey Dad and later mentoring roles in theater education. Health tested her when she was diagnosed with bowel cancer. She chose treatment close to home in Australia, supported by family, even declining Mel Gibson's offer of help in the U.S., a decision that reflected her lifelong refusal to dramatize pain. Today, Joanne Samuel is 69 years old and remains active as an actress, director, and teacher, shaping younger performers through theater education. With an estimated net worth around $2 million, her legacy is quietly powerful. She gave Mad Max its heart and spent the rest of her life passing strength forward rather than chasing the spotlight. Roger Ward as Fifi McAfee. Roger Ward was born the 24th of July, 1937 in Adelaide, South Australia. At 43, he played Fifi McAfee, the hard-edged police commander and Max's superior in Mad Max. The role gave the film its last line of institutional order, a calm authority standing on the brink of collapse. Ward grew up during and after World War II in a working-class household where money was scarce and survival came first. Forced to work young, he learned endurance rather than ambition, a mindset that later fed naturally into rough physical roles in films like Stone and The Man from Hong Kong. As his career expanded, stability never followed. Ward married and divorced multiple times, each breakdown carrying a financial cost that steadily eroded what his long resume should have secured. Years of doing his own stunts left lingering physical strain, narrowing the kinds of roles he could accept. Today, Roger Ward is 90 years old, occasionally involved in minor film projects and industry appearances. With an estimated net worth around $1 million, his story feels sobering. A man who held the line on screen, paid heavily off it, and aged without the safety net his contribution deserved. Vincent Gill played Knight Rider, the screaming outlaw whose opening monologue detonated the film. Growing up during World War II's shadow in Australia, he absorbed instability that never lifted. A painful divorce deepened strain, pushing him into non-stop work across across homicide and prisoner. Diagnosed with cancer, he continued acting despite declining health, dying at 83 with an estimated net worth around $500,000. Tim Burns, born 1953, played Johnny the Boy, the unhinged gang member. Growing up amid family separation, control seemed temporary. Acting became an outlet, but career momentum never solidified. He transitioned behind the camera as a cinematographer, though lack of recognition strained his marriage, which ended in divorce. At 73, he lives outside public attention. Net worth around $800,000. Steve Millichamp played RP, one of Max's fellow officers, young and unprepared. His vulnerability contrasted sharply with surrounding brutality. He appeared in road games and turkey shoot, but leaned heavily towards stage work. Illness restricted work in later years. He died at 57 in Melbourne, net worth around $300,000. More than 4 decades after Mad Max, the road has taken its toll. Some of the cast vanished quietly, some endured loss and illness, and others survived long enough to watch the world change around them. When you look back at Mad Max 1979, which story shocked you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more Untold Cast Journeys.